this freaking book. Hi, welcome to my channel. For today's book review, I have coffee. We're not getting drunk today, but another time. You know, it's 1 p.m., okay? I'm not that crazy. But we have to talk about this book. I had read this book twice before. I love it so much. It's like one of my top favorite romance novels I've ever read. Contemporary romance is my jam. A rom-com in a book, that's what I'm looking for. I wanted to do a book review on this a long time ago. So I thought, okay, I've read this twice. I know the story really well. I'll just skim through it, jog my memory of the plot. No, I read it again. So at this point, I've read this book 3 times and it never gets old. So let's talk about it. It's also such a cute cover. Like, that's how I want my room decorated. Our main girl, Clara, she's an East Coast socialite. Like, legit. Generational wealth. This girl's got money. Imagine like Serena Vanderwoodsen? Is that her name? I never watched Gossip Girl, but I'll pretend like I know what I'm talking about. So imagine Serena Vanderwoodsen meets Hermione. She's super type A, anxious, organized. We love her for that. But here's the thing. Why did she move from Manhattan to LA? For a man, of course. Actually, I'll call him a boy. For a boy, of course. His name is Everett, and she has been pining after him for 14 years. 14! Girl, she's so in love with him. She moves with him from Manhattan to LA, across the country, to be roommates with him in the hopes that one day he'll wake up and see that she's his dream girl. She gave up her community and a whole ass internship to make this move for this boy who hasn't noticed her. I mean, they've been like besties, but come on. But really, we see from page 1 that Everett does not care. He does not care. They're literally driving. They're almost to the house that they're going to be staying in. And he's like, oh, hey, by the way, my band got a last minute offer to go on tour. So I rented my room out for the summer. You know, the place where we were supposed to be roommates. Yeah. So he's like, bye, homie. And when she's like, okay, well, who rented your room? He's like, oh, this guy I found on the internet. His name's Josh. He seems chill. A Josh from the internet? Look, I'm sorry to all the good Joshes out there, but statistics show that Joshes are more likely to be assholes. I'm just saying. And when Clara is like, okay, can you, like, sure you can't stay for a couple days? I don't even know anybody here. I don't even have a car. He's like, yeah, sorry, babes, I'm out. And he unloads her suitcases and then leaves. He doesn't even walk her inside. This made me so mad. I hated him. I still hate him. And this quote, no one would believe she'd earned 2 advanced degrees from Ivy League institutions only to end up this stupid. Yeah, she's got a doctorate in art history, a PhD. Are you kidding me? She's educated. Honestly, hot. We love an educated woman. But even though Clara is humiliated and scared, and she doesn't want to be in a new city all by herself, she refuses to go back to Manhattan and to the gossip, which, remember, she's a socialite. Apparently that's a thing. There's just gossip columns. I wouldn't understand that. I don't have that kind of money. So she walks in and she meets Josh. Okay, here's the meet cute. He's described as incredibly tall, but not intimidating, with a mop of blonde curls on his head. Look, I don't know why I'm like this. I have nothing against blonde men. I was married to a blonde man. I have nothing against them. But the love interest in a romance novel is always a brunette in my mind. So I just can't visualize it. So in my mind, he is tall, handsome brunette. And Clara's like, nice to meet you. Please don't murder or molest me. And he's like, yeah, sure, cool. You got it. Clara also makes a note that he's cute, but not handsome because she's always had trouble talking to handsome men. Ow, Clara. That was funny. By the way, Rosie Danan is one of my favorite romance authors. I wish that she would write 30 more books. Her ability to write good banter is unmatched. The dialogue, it's so good. And what's so fun is when Josh sees this New York City socialite with her Louis Vuitton suitcases and her laminated checklist of like things she needed to do to move in, he's like delighted. Like he thinks it's adorable, which we love. So they have this moment and it's one of my favorites in the book. It happens on like page 3, like the very beginning. So Clara is like, we should probably have some ground rules, like 3 pieces of clothing when you're in the open living spaces and, you know, the 3-knock rule. And Josh is like, hey, you don't need to guard your virtue from me. I'm just waiting for my ex-girlfriend to let me move back in with her any day now. I'm going to wear her down. And so I should be gone in a couple weeks, which is like, wow, that's toxic relationship. I want to learn more about that. But Clara's like, oh my God, no. I didn't think that you would want to like, ugh. And then here's what's happened. I'm going to read this quote directly. He says, wait a second. I didn't mean I wouldn't want to under different circumstances. He held his hands out in front of his chest like he was assessing the weight of a pair of overripe melons. No! Clara's eyes went wide. Oh God, I can't believe I did that. I'm sorry. I just meant that you, What's a respectful way to say he put his hands back up? Blood rushed to her face. I got it. The word you're looking for, Josh, is thick with all the extra C's. So now we know Clara's a baddie. Good to know. Clara's moved in and the sexual tension is brewing. It's piping hot from the very beginning. So he walks into her room shirtless and she's like, ah! And then he puts on horn-rimmed glasses. Clara's inner nerd is like, auga. She's very into it. I mean, like, don't we love that though? You know, a hot man, he puts on glasses, he's even hotter. I don't get it. And then she makes note that he has big hands. Clara, you're not even trying to not thirst after him. But I mean, to be honest, that's something I would probably thirst after too. At this point, we find out that Claire is afraid of driving, which is a bit of a problem. Moving to LA, isn't it, darling? That went British to Australian real fast. And Josh is afraid of ketchup. He's like literally afraid of it. She's like, so you don't like ketchup? And he's like, no. I don't like radishes. I am afraid of ketchup. Like it makes his skin crawl. It's like a real phobia. And that's not exactly important to the plot, but I thought it was funny. Okay, but we learned that Clara has an aunt that lives in LA who was disowned by the family years ago because of a big scandal. So Clara hasn't seen her since high school. But Josh is like, you should reach out to her. And Clara is like, okay, fine. They go to lunch and her Aunt Jill owns a PR firm and she's so welcoming. And now Clara has family there and that's wonderful. I love this quote. Clara is describing Aunt Jill's voice. She says, her voice reminded Clara of honey mixed into whiskey, as if someone had warmed her vocal cords, softening the edges. That's just beautiful writing. I love that. So this is where it gets good. While they're at lunch, Josh keeps sending Clara selfies, which is just, it's hilarious. I love a goofy main character. I really, really do. I love enemies to lovers as much as anyone else, but a goofy man, I just love it. If I'm putting myself in the shoes of the main character, I love a goofy man. Hey. Oh God. My God, I'm chasing my cats around and I'm getting sweaty. But anywho, Jill's like, okay, let me see who this mystery roommate is. Clara shows her the picture and Jill's like, oh, that's Josh Darling. And Clara's like, Darling? That can't possibly be his name. And Jill's like, it's not. It's his porn name. Clara moved in with a porn star! Oh my God, this is where it gets really good. Also, Josh Darling? That is so fucking cute. It almost makes up for the fact that his name is Josh. Okay. In the next chapter, it's worth mentioning, we meet Naomi Grant, who's Josh's co-star and toxic on again, off again girlfriend. It seems like they have more of a business relationship than anything else. And Josh seems like genuinely like afraid of her, which is hilarious. We also learned that Josh is in like a major chokehold exclusivity contract with this like big studio called Black Hat. And it's making him miss out on a lot of money. And he and his agent are trying to negotiate, but his agent's kind of a slimeball too. The studio, Black Hat, they won't budge. Oh, also, by the way, Rosie Danan deserves major props for making me fall in love with a playboy bro love interest. He totally sleeps around. He goes to dinner with his agent and he didn't remember that he had slept with that waitress before. His agent had to remind him. I should hate him for that, but I don't. He's too charming. God. But he did say he loved feasting on LA's buffet of babes. Okay, that's less charming. But the thing is that Josh's career, according to everyone, is better when he's with Naomi because he's got this like, I don't know, wholesome boy next door sort of vibe, hence the name Darling, right? And they're like the Brangelina of porn, him and Naomi. And it's either be with Naomi and, you know, be the power couple of porn or do hardcore stuff. And Josh draws the line there. Now, here is where it gets good. This is the best part. Clara, she tries really, really hard not to Google her porn star roommate's name. She tries really, really hard. She's like, I don't want to know. I don't need to know. But she can't help herself. Honestly, if I were her, I would have Googled him right then and there at lunch with Aunt Jill. I wouldn't have waited. Oh my God, my curiosity could not. But one night, it's hot, like temperature hot. Clara just can't get cool. And she changes into an old nightgown from when she was 12. What 27-year-old still owns a nightgown from when they were 12 and still fits in it? That I don't get. But it sets the scene for the fact that she's in this like tiny little nightgown. Like, oh man, she's at home in this tiny little nightgown. What's going to happen? Can you guys guess? So she's in her nightgown. She grabs her computer. She's on the couch and she does some research. So while Clara is in the middle of her searching, Josh walks in, watching Clara watch him perform his craft. Josh is like, what you watching? And Claire's horrified. She's like, it's a meditation video. And he's like, huh, you look flushed. And she's like, well, it is exercise for the mind. That really made me laugh. But she can't keep it in. Like, Clara is such a good girl. She finally confesses and she's like, I'm sorry, I lied. I was watching pornography. Oh my God. This girl is constantly on the verge of a mental breakdown, and that is so relatable. So Josh is just like loving this. He thinks it's spicy. He also thinks it's hilarious how like uncomfortable and like innocent Clara is. So he asks for constructive feedback, like constructive criticism. And Clara says, this is another one of my favorite lines. She says, I can see how your methods would prove effective. Not that I was affected, because that would be inappropriate. God, I love her. So Clara is trying to be real chill in this situation. I was just watching through an autistic lens. Like, obviously, this didn't make me feel any type of way. I'm perfectly fine. So Clara's feedback is to say that Josh does a certain thing with his mouth a lot. And Josh is like, what? She's like, the thing, She seemed to like it, but like, it's not my cup of tea, but every woman is different. And Josh is so confused. And he's like, how do your partners? And then it hits him. Clara has never been given an O. And Josh immediately is like, no, this is unacceptable. Take your pants off. I'm going to rectify this situation. And Josh vows, this is for science only. He's like, I'm not going to feel any type of way about this. This is science, purely clinical. And Josh says, one of my favorite lines, every body is different, but none of them are wrong. Okay, I love that. Is Josh every woman's dream guy? I don't know. He's definitely mine. So Josh does his work. And Clara is very satisfied. But Josh, he might be a dream guy, but he's still a man. So he's an absolute doofus. And after that, he's like, all right, well, that's done with. And makes Clara feel like she was a total pity project. He was like trying to not make her feel weird because he felt some type of way about it. He really enjoyed it, but he didn't want her to feel uncomfortable. But anyway, he made her feel even worse. So good job, Josh. And the next morning, Clara's like, I'm out of here. She books a flight. She goes to see her Aunt Jill to say goodbye. But she ends up getting hired instead because Jill needs an assistant or something. But the problem is Clara lives in LA and she's too scared to drive. She doesn't drive and she needs to be able to practice on a car. It is worth noting that Clara is genuinely afraid of driving. Like, she was in an accident and her brother got hurt. And so she has PTSD from this. So she kind of swallows her pride because she thinks that Josh just like thinks of her as a pity project and asks Josh for help. And he very reluctantly agrees to help her learn how to drive with his prized possession, which is his Corvette. Meanwhile, Black Hat, the studio, offers Josh a contract with 4 times as much money as he made the year before. So that's very enticing. And it's not exclusive, so he can work with other studios, but he has to do hardcore things, which he turns them down. Hello, what did you want from me? Don't go that way. But they find a loophole in his contract, which is he can't appear on camera, but he can do voiceovers. So Clara and Josh come up with creating something that is like sex ed how-to for grown-ups. And they name it Shameless, which I think is so cool. But they need someone to be on camera. Josh can only do voiceover. So they reach out to Naomi. Clara, with her, heavy pockets, she is going to be the investor in this project. Like, she's funding the whole thing. The 3 of them, Josh, Clara, and Naomi, are now business partners. They do the whole thing. They hire performers. They do all the business stuff. They get studio space, the whole shebang. Meanwhile, Josh and Clara have to do a lot of research. And one night when they're doing research together, I swear to God, Clara is either dumb or just oblivious. I think she's more on the oblivious side because she keeps saying that like, wow, he's such a master performer. Like, he's such a good actor. He's making me think that he's into me. Girl, why? He is into you. Hello, open your eyes. And another scene of research. They're at the studio and they're having honestly very PG-13 like fun. This is the thing. Like, the tension is building, but we have not had any actual relations yet. This is over the close, PG-13, okay? And Naomi walks in on them. First of all, random. Why do authors say bit her lip hard enough to taste blood? Why? I have read that in so many books. Have you ever intentionally bit your lip hard enough to taste blood? I don't get that. Who does that? Anyway, so Naomi walks in and she tells Josh, stop pursuing Clara. Naomi genuinely believes in this project now, and she does not want the business crashing down if Josh and Clara break up or he breaks her heart. She makes him swear that he'll back off. And he does. I really do understand where Naomi's coming from because with the amount of money, like Clara is funding the whole thing. I get it, but also I hate that. Okay, so Josh really starts avoiding her. And one morning, Clara is late to an appointment with Aunt Jill and the district attorney, Tony, who they are working with on her campaign. Like, this is a big deal. She can't take the bus because the bus is late. So she takes Josh's car, then crashes it. But they have the cutest scene at the hospital where Clara is crying because she feels so guilty. And Josh says he doesn't care about the car. He cares that she's okay. And he kisses her on the head. Oh, that's so cute. And Clara has like really bad whiplash from this accident. And the doc said, you're probably not going to want to raise your arms above your head for a few days. And Josh is like, let me help you shower. How kind of him to offer his help. Because Rosie Danan is an expert in building sexual tension, we are 3/4 of the way through the book, and there has no been relations, just a lot of almost moments. Are you dying? I'm dying. Let me remind you that this is the 3rd time I've read this book. I'm dying. Josh finally confesses to Clara that he has feelings for her, and this is what he says. If a guy doesn't wake up every morning and pray for the privilege of kissing you and touching you and God just looking at you, then something within him is deeply deranged. Oh my God. Oh, and I can't say much about the next scene, except Rosie Danan, she really knows what she's doing. And all of you need to read this book. So then after they have this like beautiful moment where they finally confess how they feel about each other, they go to a Rocky marathon at the movie theater because Clara really loves action movies. I think that's really cute. It's a real date. It's adorable. She even dresses up. But the DA, Tony, that's working with Aunt Jill's PR firm, right? She's there with like her team on a, I don't know, night out. They're all going out. And Clara completely ignores Josh. Tony's like, are you too? And she's like, oh no, I was just asking him where the bathroom was. And then she tells Josh that she couldn't afford someone finding out who he is. Ow! Clara! Yikes. That sucks. And at the same time, Josh's heart is just crumbling into a million pieces. And Black Hat has started blacklisting people that Josh cares about. So they're not blacklisting him, they're blacklisting all the people around him. And Josh has a big heart, so this is not good. And Black Hat makes sure that in the press, it names, and all the things about Shameless comes out, it names Clara. So then the DA has to separate from Clara and say, I can't work with you anymore. I can't risk this connection coming out. And Josh and Clara have a big confrontation and he confesses that he's in love with her, but he's also like kind of mean in this situation. Like he's just so hurt that he pushes her away. Like he feels so awful that she's so ashamed of him and what he does for work that he just pushes her away. And Clara dips. She's like, I'm finally out of here. Clara goes to Las Vegas where Everett is. I was so annoyed when I read that. Come on, Everett. She goes to see Everett and suddenly everything makes sense. She sees him, who he really is, and that he's just been leading her on all of these years. And that's kind of like her come to Jesus moment. So she runs back to LA. She goes to the radio station where Josh and Naomi are doing an interview about Shameless. And Clara grand gestures Josh like hardcore. She, on the radio, live, thousands of listeners, she says that she's in love with him and that she's sorry. And she says, loving you is like sinking into a warm bath after a lifetime of feeling cold down to my bones. It's having someone see me past the artifice and the posturing and decide I'm more than enough. Are you crying? Oh my God. And then Naomi is like, if you don't kiss her soon, I will, which is hilarious. And then they smash in the elevator. My goodness. That's so scandalous. But we live happily ever after. They go meet with Tony and Jill, and Tony decides that she's finally going to prosecute Black Hat because there's like a bunch of things about crimes that they've committed and, you know, things like that. And then there's a cute little epilogue where they're engaged and they're at Thanksgiving and Claire's family's there and Josh's family's there and Naomi, and they're all just like a big family and they all love each other. It's so fucking cute. I'm crying. It is one of my favorite contemporary romances of all time. I love a rom-com in a book, like I said. And I feel like the story is unique and the characters are so well fleshed out. Fleshed out? What is the word there? It doesn't rely on tropes. The spice is just right. Sorry, a cat just jumped on me. The spice is just right. Sometimes in romance novels, it can be like super cute. The romance is there. And then when the spice comes in, it's like, tone shift, and it just doesn't fit. It works so well. And Rosie Danan is just like incredible. So I'm giving this a 5-star rating. This is one of my favorites. A spice level, I would probably say that this is like a 3. There aren't any specific kinks or anything in it. It's good spicy. I've also read this one. This is Rosie Danan's next book. It's a sequel. It follows Naomi, and I love it. So if you guys want a review on this one, I would be happy to give it to you. I really want these book reviews to be a balance of books that I genuinely love and books that are just absolutely bonkers. So please give me some suggestions down below. If you have any like absolutely bizarre monster romances on Kindle Unlimited, let me know. And if you have a romance that you haven't stopped thinking about it and changed your life and, ruined love for you forever because it'll never be as good as that book, please let me know. I want to know. I want you to break my heart, please. Also, just in general, if there are any other ideas for videos on this channel, things that you want to see, things you want me to talk about, please write them in the comments. This is new for me. I'm having a lot of fun. I have another video coming out soon with like Q&A, life advice, but I want to hear from you. I'm going to go cry over this book, maybe read it for the 4th time. Okay, bye.